Welcome everyone to the ninth session of Abico Economic Forum. I'm Akash Subramanian here, the host for today, and today we're having a very interesting topic, which is insider trading and a few examples that India has seen that have shook the economy. Pretty in-depth analysis will be done here, and we have a very new speaker with us, Mr. Rutik K. Jadhav here. He's a student of St. Xavier's College pursuing his BSc, and also he's an entrepreneur having his own startup called the Paradigm.in. Rutik, you could say a few words about Paradigm here for our audience.
Yeah, so basically, we are a media and news company, and what we are trying to achieve is we believe that the right kind of journalism holds the key to world peace. And so we have been building a community of change makers to promote socio-political literacy and socio-political awareness around the world. So we have been around three continents across 50 cities. So it has been a very interesting journey for the last 1.5 years.
That is so wonderful and such a strong motto to have an initiative with. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here in this session, Rutik.
My pleasure.
And perfect. So let us start our session today. So we all are accustomed with the scam of 1992. There has been a web series. It has been promoted so much, but we failed to realize that was not the only case, though it was the biggest one. Not the only case now, which has shook the economy, has come into the attention of media. We have so many more cases. So let us go a little more in depth of what insider trading is and how different companies can use it, and how the most interesting thing here is it all illegal? Let us look into it. So Ritik, how would
Yeah.
a person qualify to be called an insider in any organization? Like, could we just call anyone who works there an insider, like on an employment basis? Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so the regulator company that works in India to control insider trading and control the securities market is SEBI,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually defines promoters or a promoters group instead of insiders. So what a promoter is someone who owns 20% of the share capital of a company or an entity. But an insider could also be considered any what could I say, any immediate family member or any person who has the knowledge of UPSI, that is so unpublished price sensitive information, which could actually alter the price sensitivity in the market. So anyone who has the knowledge basically could be called an insider.
That is right. So we'll move on to the point that I had brought forward earlier. Is every single form of insider trading illegal? Now, how do you think SEBI can notarize any event or any activity to be illegal in form of insider trading? Because we, as an example, I can give it to you. If in any organization within the board members itself, if they have to alter any decisions between the board members at any time, the information is valid. But when does it come to a situation where it goes outside? So how does SEBI get this into notice?
When you look at SEBI, the first question that you asked is all kind of insider trading illegal. So it depends on when the trading is done. If it is done in the UPSI period, which means if there is a recalibration done in the company and something that is sensitive enough to cause ripples around the market, and if it is done in that period before an official statement is issued in the public, so that would be illegal because you have the sensitive information and then you have been using to gain profit from the market, so that would be illegal. But if insider trading is done that is not in the UPSI period, so it won't be illegal. And talking about how SEBI looks after and gets to know about insider trading and the insights of all of it, so a promoter or a promoter group has to let SEBI know about their holdings in the market. So anyone who owns 20% of the share capital of that entity, or even if their relatives hold a significant amount of shares, they have to let SEBI know beforehand, and then their transaction and their trades are tracked. But there is a problem that SEBI has been facing because SEBI got the uh, SEBI could actually tap phone calls only after 2014. There's not a lot of help that SEBI has been getting to track things like these. So it is unfortunate in a sense, and not every case that is taken up by the SEBI has been completed. The probe has been completed. So that is something that I would call unfortunate.
Absolutely. As you had mentioned before, 2014, it was pretty difficult for SEBI to know how they could even categorize insider trading, because even a generic conversation that could take place could not be in the notice of SEBI. So
Yeah,
we could have seen that before 2014 there were like 4 to 5 cases, not just in India, worldwide, happening about insider trading. But after 2014, or at least globally after 2008 crisis, many initiatives have been taken by the global economy to stop this kind of a scam taking place.
yeah.
So we
If you look at
recently,
it in the last 3 decades, there has not been any uh, insider trading that has, proved to be something of an insider trading. There has not been a significant amount of evidence to call it insider trading and, to slap people with the charges, the needful
Mhm.
charges. So that is a problem that SEBI faces currently.
That is right. We can even see that with the case of Republic TV journalist
Yeah,
with Arnab Goswami, and with the TRP scam that has been taking place, he's been left on bail right now. There's still some rally happening as to him involving himself with BRC employees and getting to know the news even before. And there's been some national threat about him, taking place in some major scam and a terrorist attack which you already knew about before. But we
yeah,
won't delve into that because this is still fresh waters. We'll let the media cover that before we give our analysis over it. We would move to some of the older cases which have impacted the economy.
yeah,
Coming to the first one, we recently heard that SEBI had banned the promoters of NDTV. The ban happened earlier, but this came into news because a few of the charges fined on them were notified. The promoters of NDTV, namely Pranay Roy and Radhika Roy, have been banned for 2 years from the share market, from the securities market, for the misuse of, as you had mentioned, UPSI, unpublished price sensitive information. Right. So could you elaborate on what this insider job was?
yeah. So I like to approach this chronologically. So what happened between 2007 to 8 was there was a lot of recalibration done in the corporate structure of NDTV.
Mhm.
When there is a lot of restructuring done in the corporate, it could actually alter the stock prices. That is, it creates price sensitive information. And if it is unpublished, it is undisclosed to the public, it is called UPSI.
Mhm.
Right. So between 2007 and 2008, there was a lot of restructuring done in the corporate of NDTV. So what happened was the Roys actually are banned, like any promoter is banned from trading within that UPSI period. If
Mhm.
not, it is illegal. The insider trading is basically illegal, like we mentioned before.
Yeah.
So what they did was, after issuing a statement publicly, within 24 hours, they're not supposed to, trade between 24, like before 24 hours of disclosing a statement, but they sold their stocks, they sold their shares
Mhm.
before 24 hours that the statement was issued. And that actually ensured the problem. So what happened was they sold the shares and then the share prices declined
Mhm.
and they profited around 17 crores among themselves and seven more people. So SEBI slapped them with charges and told them that they'll be also charged with a penalty of 6% per year. And so the total penalty goes to about 30 or 32 crore, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
So that has been the problem that has happened. And this is one of the fresh cases of insider trading in India, as in it happened in 2007 and 8. But after the entire probe was done and after the regulatory authority was, sure of it, they
Mhm.
slapped them with the charges right now. So that was basically what happened in the NDTV case.
That is right. We have been talking about SEBI taking so many precautions to avoid this, but it takes time. The procedure takes time because they have to ensure that it is an illegal activity happening here. They have to get deep into it before putting forward any acquisitions on any person, because SEBI has to be careful here. Banning any person is an ill effect on SEBI, and that should not happen because they are the security exchange here. They are the supervisor, so they cannot be at fault. Similar thing happened. This is not an insider trading thing, but the Carvi scam that happened, where they were pledging the shares of people who had already pledged it for some other share. That is a different case we have covered in session 6, I believe. Please do check that out. So it took them 2 years to realize because if some file number was got into notification getting spurious, they finally figured out the entire scam, but it took 2 years to even notify where the scam began from. Right. So kudos to SEBI to take all these efforts and bring forward the scams. But yes, it is a tedious process, and let us see how they upgrade themselves. We see the new SEBI guidelines coming out in November 2020 for stopping the intra trading in the stock market. So interesting things have been taking place in the stock securities market. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Rutik. The next question that I would be bringing forward here is, it will surely be difficult for SEBI, as I've said, to keep track of insider trading because this might be an everyday disclosure between people, right? So, do you think there are any set rules that people holding UPSI must conform to? Are there?
Yeah, so in 2015, SEBI came up with a revised set of guidelines wherein, as I mentioned before, the promoters group has to disclose their holdings beforehand to SEBI so that they can track whatever trade is happening with their shares. That
Mhm.
is the first thing. And the second thing would be that they are not like, it is banned to share the sensitive information to anyone else other than people in the higher corporate hierarchy.
Mhm.
And basically, in the beginning, it was very casual. Before 1992, if you know, insider trading was legal. It was not illegal, basically. So people could, leak out information, whether true, whether false, rumors, or even
Mhm.
restructuring news and sensitive information out in the market. But after that, SEBI learned from errors, and there have been a lot of changes made in the 2015's revised guidelines.
Mhm.
But majorly, it covers uh, the transactions and the trades being more transparent, I would say,
Mhm.
and informing the authorities about whatever movement is happening and whatever trades are happening with the promoters group's shares, and also the
Mhm.
immediate family members who might have access to the sensitive information, and the banning of sharing of sensitive information within the corporate structure of or anywhere in the social structure.
Absolutely. It's such a careful thing for promoters to, not even by mistake, they should not be leaking out any kind of information because connections could happen from anywhere. So they have to
Exactly.
be really, really careful.
Except in
Mhm.
cases of due diligence and where there is a legitimate reason for them to share that information.
Mhm.
Except these two reasons, the sharing of sensitive information is completely frowned upon, completely banned. And doing so could actually land the promoters group in trouble.
That is true. But if when brought forward to the court, anything could happen, even if it is a legitimate kind of information leaked out, anything could happen with it. So that is why, in any case, they have to be as careful as possible with the information they hold. That is right. Thank you so much, Uritik. Now, coming to an important point here, um, we have spoken about insider trading and the sharing of information. But is that the only way an insider trading could take place? Now, we have seen cases of manipulation of stock prices too, which have been considered a kind of insider trading, though there is no real-time disclosure of UPSI. So, how does this manipulation work, Ritik, and how do companies create gains from them?
So, if I'm talking about manipulations, could we take the example of RBL, RPL, if you're fine with it?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes,
Absolutely. So that would be a nice case study to explain what I'm trying to put forth.
yes.
So basically, RPL stands for Reliance Petroleum Limited, and it was a different entity before 2009 when Reliance Industries Limited (RIL) absorbed it,
Hmm.
and which has been Mukesh Ambani, who was briefly the richest man in Asia for a while, and he's the chairman and managing director of RIL, Reliance Industries Limited.
Hmm.
And what happened was in 2007, what Reliance did was basically there are two options. You could invest in the market. You
Hmm.
could, get in and invest in the equity form of it, as in the regular trading that you might have heard about. and other is future and options. So in
Hmm.
future and options, what you do is if you have a small amount of capital, what you do is you predict if the stocks would if the stock prices would rise in the coming future. For example, if the Reliance's stock is priced at 2000 rupees per share, you bet, like, it wouldn't be called betting, but you would see that in the future it could increase to 2100 rupees. And if it increases to 2100 rupees or beyond 2100 rupees, so you could actually, uh, create a lot of profit from that from a very small capital. It is high risk,
Hmm.
high reward. So what RPL did was they grabbed 5% of their shares, and they appointed 12 agents who would sell this shares out in the market. Now, there is a basic law in economics which states that if the supply increases, the demand falls, right?
Hmm.
So there
Right.
was more shares in the market, and so the demand declined, and so the share prices decreased. Suppose the share prices were 40 rupees, then so they might have decreased to maybe 20 rupees. So when
Hmm.
Reliance, like when RPL sold their shares at 40 rupees, so after they had sold their 5% of their shares, it declined to suppose 20 rupees. And
Hmm.
then they bought it back. Okay. So what
Right.
happened was they gained a profit from selling them at a higher price. And then they got a profit again by grabbing them at a lower price.
Hmm.
So that is an example of manipulative trading. And so, if I'm not wrong, Mukesh Ambani has been slapped with 25 crore rupees, is it? Or 15 crores?
It has been 40 crores, but then different media sources
Yeah,
give
yeah.
different.
So Mukesh Ambani and Reliance Industries Limited uh, together have been, slapped with the penalty of 40 crore rupees, and like he himself has 15 or 25 crore, and the rest is slapped upon Reliance Industries Limited, along with
Yes.
two entities called the SEZ, the MEZ, the MSEZ, the Mumbai SEZ, and the Navi Mumbai SEZ, who funded
Yes.
this, manipulative trading campaign in the first place. So they have been slapped with some crore rupees too. So four entities: Mukesh Ambani, Reliance Industries Limited, Mumbai SEZ, and Navi Mumbai SEZ. Four of these have been slapped with penalties, and that would be an example of manipulative trading. I hope
Absolutely.
I was clear enough.
You were very clear. You were very analytical too. Thank you so much, Ritik. I would like to bring a couple of examples here more about how the manipulation of stock takes place. It can not only happen from an internal source but also an external. I can give a recent incident about CNBC. One of the journalists there has been banned from from the market itself. He is not allowed to do any kind of journalism, not only for market, but any generic news. What had happened was he used to, as you have seen the cases with the UPSI and family members, he used to go one day before to his wife and say, tomorrow, I'm going to say these companies are going to have their prices raised. And since so many people view CNBC, it will actually create an impact on the stock market and the stock prices of of the company and of the stocks. So when that used to happen, his wife and his father used to trade in those stocks one day before, and the next day you could see a rise in those prices. So an intraday trading by the information about what is going to happen was from before, and this was no magic. And finally, SEBI figured out what this pattern was happening. They figured out about the journalists and this kind of scam. Such a simple scam, you know. I mean, it's easy to think about, and there's so many kinds, so many variants that could come into place. We can never guess them. Also, an example that how companies sometimes manipulate the stock market in showing a different price. It could either be if, for example, during the pandemic, there was initially a crash where many shares were brought down by 50%, 60%, they lost their value. But then you could see some stock prices became overvalued by August, September. They gained huge increases, huge profits for investors, and it was pretty surprising. People could not keep a track. We can see that the stock market now has, crossed 50,000 mark. The Sensex has crossed 50,000, which is unbelievable. But then people say it is legitimate. It's not just overvaluation. It is not going to bring an immediate crash in the market. So what can happen in such cases if for example, a company XYZ is having a price of 1500 actually. But if they want to show higher value in the stock market, they can probably either go through inside information and go to the people and show change in the stock prices, or they could reveal some false information saying in this quarter we had so much of profits, in this quarter we had 50% gain in employees. So this takes time to analyze and to confirm. But before then, the stock market is hot with this news and getting in all the investors here because of the news, the stock price increases. Even this is a form of insider trading. Like, how could you even blame them? If it is realized that Q3 profits were not real, they could say we have transferred to reserves and surplus. So it is not the amount with the company, we're just having it for reserves. But we have the profits. So this is how insider trading can take place, and this is why SEBI has to be as careful as possible and notify every single thing as possible. You know, every single employee can hold accountable if any scam does take place because they are responsible for those incidents not happening. So yes, this actually briefs a lot about how the insider trading scams do take place. It's just not the 1992 scam. There are so many cases that take place, and now it's like a scam of 800 crores, 900 crores is nothing. We can easily expect a bigger amount taking place here. Do you agree with me, Ritik?
Yeah, exactly. And I would like to iterate a point.
Mm-hmm.
So insider trading, like you brought up the example of journalist from CNBC,
Yeah.
insider trading uh, could not only be associated with an insider. What the CNBC journalist did was manipulated, like he manipulated what the share prices were. It was not insider trading. Basically, it was sensitive information, but it
Mm-hmm.
was not unpublished sensitive information.
That is
And
right.
he was not, he did not belong to the promoters group. So it was a different thing altogether from insider trading. And what Elon Musk does is not manipulative trading. What he does is basically what economists would call invisible hands, if I'm not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That is the
The
word.
amount of impact that he has on the market, uh, probably greater than what currently Warren Buffett has, at least in short,
Mm-hmm.
short durations. So yeah, basically they are two different phenomena: insider trading and manipulative trading. What
That is right.
we try to, pursue through these examples today.
That is right. And talking about insider trading and manipulative trading being two different terms, it still has like a marginal kind of difference between them because it could even be interconnected between the both.
Yeah,
You know,
there is
so
there is a lot of room for you know what like which kind of illegal practice falls where on the spectrum. If there is not a lot of evidence, or if there is not a lot of what you would call in physics resolving power, it
mhm,
would be very difficult to differentiate between the two of them when a
that is
scam happens or something goes wrong.
That is true. So that's it for today's session, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope we have been given the art of insider trading, how it has been taken place, and we urge you not to pursue it because it is very, very dangerous. So thank you so much, Ritik, for being a part of this session. It was truly
My
wonderful.
pleasure, Akash.
And to all our viewers, do like, share, and subscribe our channel, and do share it with all your classmates. Do I encourage all of you to be a part of Abico Economic Forum? Write down in the comments what we should cover next, and if you do want to be a part of us, you can apply. We soon are coming out with public issues for having people brought in for the sessions. So do stay tuned. Thank you.